Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a certified gel nail technician, and today I'm going to answer your questions from Reddit. Before we get started, if you guys know me, you'll know that my voice is sounding a little bit off today. I am sick, but that's okay. We're gonna power through it, but if I'm sounding a little bit nasally, I apologize. Euphoric Damage 4729 asks, are there any other options to buff your natural nails without a sanding band or buffer? I want to do a friend's nails, but they're really thin and I don't want to mess them up. Okay, so I'm going to answer this question in two parts. First of all, I think it's really great that you are paying attention to this because thin nails can definitely be tricky. So to start answering this question, first we need to think about why we're buffing in the first place. Buffing is a step that we do before we apply any primer, dehydrator, or polish. And basically what it does is it creates a texture on what is otherwise a very smooth nail plate. Nail polish, gel, nail glue won't stick very well to a smooth surface, and so we're trying to add some texture to that surface in order for the product to stick to it. The only other thing that I personally know of that will create a texture on the nail plate is an acidic primer, and basically what these primers do, from what I understand, they basically dissolve little holes into your nail plate to create that texture. And so for the first part of the question, is there an alternative way to create this texture on your nail plate? I would say technically yes, but not a better one. So buffing the nail plate is less damaging, less invasive than using an acid-based primer. It's funny, it sounds like I'm saying an acid-based primer, but it's not, it's an acid-based primer. You guys know what I mean. Okay, so we've established that there is not really a better option to create that texture on the nail. So do you have to create the texture on the nail? Or if the nail is thin, can you just skip it? And my answer to this is it depends. It depends on why the nail is thin in the first place. Stay with me for a second while I explain a bit of anatomy. So your nail plate has 3 main layers, and in total it's about 100 or 150, I think, cell layers thick. We want to apply gel to the dorsal or the top layer of the nail plate. This is more rigid and it's denser, and so for 2 main reasons we want to apply gel to the top layer. One is retention and the second is safety. So for the purpose of this question, let's focus on the second one. It's important to apply your gel polish, which is, might I remind you, a chemical, right, to that dorsal, the top layer of your nail plate, because it is the least porous. So that top layer of your nail plate actually does a really good job at protecting what's underneath from chemicals. So our nails are porous, but the top layer is the least porous. And when we are putting uncured gel onto our nails, we really don't want any of that uncured gel to seep through the nail plate, because as we all know, uncured gel is like a known sensitizer, right? The HEMA and the monomers in gel can cause sensitivities or allergic reactions. So we definitely don't want to apply gel to a nail plate that has been damaged, where the top layer has been completely removed and the middle or bottom layer are exposed, because these ones are more porous. So done with that little tangent, back to the main question, which is, should we skip it or not? Skip the buffing, I mean. If the nail is naturally thin, it will still have this dorsal layer, the top layer. And so in this case, I would not skip the buffing. Just make sure, like with everybody, every nail type, you're using a very light hand, and the intention here is not to remove, a big part of the nail plate. It's just to take off the top, 5 cell layers of nail. So if your friend's nails are naturally thin, yes, go ahead and file, use a 180 grit file and a very light hand. On the other hand, if your friend's nails are not naturally thin, and the reason why they're thin is because they have been damaged, like I was talking about earlier, we do not want to be filing the nail any further, because we don't want to be cutting into the middle layer and the bottom layer of the nail plate. But in that case, you also don't want to be applying gel. So if your nails are thinned out because they've been damaged by an e-file or a file, then it's not about skipping the buffing step so you can go straight to the polish step. It's about not using gel at all until the nail is healed and fully grown out. which I know is probably not the answer that you're looking for, but is the best one I can give. Dazzling Jump 1334 asks, can I reshape these? I can never settle with a shape and almost always regret the shape I get. Feel like my hands aren't as feminine as other ladies and sometimes certain shapes look awkward on me. Are these okay? Can I reshape them? I have an e-file and various other files. Feel like they'd look better if they weren't as pointy. Great question. So that's an almond and they're asking if they can reshape it into an oval. So basically like shorten the point off the top. And basically I think sometimes what people forget or they don't realize is your nails, especially when you have a nail enhancement on, your nails are not 2D shapes, they're actually 3D shapes. And so it doesn't just matter what they look like from the top view, like this, but it also matters what they look like from the side view, like this, and from the front view. We call this down the barrel. When you are changing the shape of a nail from like almond to oval, you're basically changing like what the outline looks like from the top view, right? But from the side view, we have this little arc that we create, thinnest at the cuticle, and then a little bit thicker near the middle, and then thinner again near the tip. We want the tip of the nail to be about 1 millimeter thick. So here's where things get a little bit complicated in reshaping. When you are shortening a nail, which you're doing if you're filing to reshape, right? You're not only changing the shape from the top view, but you're also cutting in to that little arc from the side view, right? You're taking off the tip of the nail, and therefore the tip of your nail gets thicker. And so if you don't care about having a thick tip on your nail, like, go off. But I would say for the most part, most people are going for more of like a delicate or like dainty shape with their nails, and so having a thicker tip makes the nail look a little bit bulkier. So to fix this, what you would have to do is not only shorten the nail, but then also take down some of the top of the nail, like shave off the top to reform that arc. The problem with doing that, of course, is that it will take off the polish color because the polish color is on top. And so the short answer to this question is, if you want to keep that sort of slimmer, more delicate, dainty shape that a lot of us are going for with nail extensions, then it's important that you not only shorten the nail, but you also make the tip thinner as well. Okay, and last question of the day. So agreeable_ad9877 said, how would I recreate this? And then linked a picture of like a beautiful set of long almond nails that are giving very unicorn vibes. I might stare at this the whole time that I answer this question, but I think what has been done here, it doesn't look like magnetic polish. It looks like a polish with a pearl finish would be my best guess. And it looks like the artist has used blue and pink, and they have put splotches of pink and splotches of blue and then kind of marbled them together, probably using like a toothpick. That's what I would use, a toothpick or like a thin daughter tool to marble them together. And then it looks like, I can see here, there's like a little bit of a yellow sheen that we can see in some of the nails. And so that looks like a clear chrome powder with like a yellow/gold reflect. So that is what I would do to try to recreate these nails. So get a pink and a blue pearl, marble them together, and then go over the top with a chrome. You just have to be careful with something like this that you aren't putting too much product on the nail. When I'm doing something like marbling, the risk there is that the polish is too thick, so just be careful that the polish is not too thick. Now, another little tip for questions like this, what I like to do, and let's see if we can do it, is reverse look up the picture. Let's see if we can find it. I'm gonna download the image. Let me share my screen. So obviously this is not the same set, but this is exactly the technique that I was talking about, except for it looks like she might have cured the first layer and then put a second layer of pink on top and swirled. But what we want to do is, instead of just doing pink blobs, do pink and blue blobs and then swirl them together. So yeah, this can be a really great way to figure out, sorry, let me stop that. Oh my god, I'm so sick. So what was I saying? I was saying that this can be a really great way to figure out how to do a technique too, is to do a little bit of sleuthing, you know, do a little reverse image look up and see if you can find either the exact same artist doing that technique, or at least something similar that will show you or give you ideas for how you can try to recreate it. Okay, so that's all the questions for today. I hope that you learned something, and until next time.